Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. We're going to be looking at some long-term charts. And I look at the human behavior. This is kind of what I like doing. I like charting. I don't know why. It just sticks with me. I like ratios. I like charting. I do look at the fundamentals of companies. It's not the most exciting for me. I do like pattern recognition. I almost see it as like a game. And that's kind of how I approach these things, is from a game perspective. I just like looking at charts. I like looking at things, and then I go back and look at the fundamentals. Usually they all align pretty well. And when you get charts that align across many different commodities, many different asset classes that are all paired together, then you start piecing together a puzzle. It's saying, okay, all of these are tied a certain way. And that's basically how I came up with the thesis of the channel, which is real estate, especially the expansion phase, the housing starts. We go into an expansion phase of real estate, the housing starts, and the loans going against the housing starts puts it into an inflationary environment. Those environments produce patterns that are all the same. And what I've got behind me, and let me get myself out of the way here. We've got the Wyckoff events and phases. What this is an accumulation schematic. So you come down, you basically get what I consider to be the double booty bottom almost. You get one bottom here, you get another bottom here, you come on up, and then you zigzag a little bit before heading way on up. And usually you come down, accumulate, and then go back up. What we're going to look at are some very long-term patterns. And what I want you to do right now is burn this image into your head, because we are going to use it for looking at other images. And this is important to understand, because we want to know kind of what these images look like and compare them to long-term charts that we're looking at. Now, I'm not saying that this has to be exactly the same. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. As long as the market conditions are good for and right for a big move up, I do think that the patterns will be very similar. They may not be exactly the same zigzagging. They may be stretched out in terms of time. They may be compressed. So the ones we're looking at are big, huge, long-term, big picture charts. This is where the big money's made. I'm not looking for 100% gain where you trade in, you trade out. What I want is the big money. I want the big right-hand side of this thing where it goes berserk. And I'm going to show you some patterns of some different companies, and we can maybe do some analysis on them. So let's burn this image into our head here, and I've got a whole bunch on the right-hand side of this. We can go back and forth. So what I have here is a Lithium Americas Corp. And what I look for is kind of a consolidation area, and then eventually a break. This could be considered kind of like almost a cup and handle pattern. Silver's doing the same thing on a monster long from 1970s all the way till today. But this could be like that accumulation phase. You break that top, it came back and did a retest, and it was like, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya, and it's taken off. This is a large base to what I consider. The bigger the base and the longer the basing, the bigger the potential move could be to the upside. And I just grabbed a whole bunch of charts. All right, these are just a whole bunch of charts. This is a successful basing and launch. Here's another successful one. This is lumber. We were basing all the way since 1994 or so. And if you look, and I'll try to get this in one kind of view here, you get this big, big phase in here. That's all this stuff in here. You get this kind of spring where it says spring right there. There's your spring. There's your bottom. Short term in phase B. It came up. It came back to your spring. We're chopping sideways up. We came up. We build a little bit before this, and then the big move higher in lumber. So this pattern is very similar and close to this pattern on the left-hand side. This is a very large pattern. Now, scrolling on down, this is wheat. Wheat, this is all the way back. I think this is in the 80s, and it went all the way back to the 70s. I don't know if I grabbed it all. But this move here going sideways, we got the spring. We're coming sideways. Now, I am saying the SOS line, this line up in here, where you've got this kind of area where it's consolidating. Yeah, that's this entire thing here. Before a rocket launch higher for phase E, you got your rocket launch already going. And this is wheat on the left-hand side here. We've got Intrepid Potash. And what makes me so kind of drawn to it is the pattern. The pattern is coming down. It does this kind of short-term phase B. It comes up. Here's your spring down here. We did a little bit of zigzagging down here. We're coming on up, and if we break this line right here to the upside, I think we could have a very, very big move, and this is a bottoming type pattern. So I think from the fractals coming down and the move potentially coming up, and the way that this pattern looks, it looks very similar to the Wyckoff accumulation phase. And if you were to look at the volume, I don't have the volume on here, a lot of these volumes kick way up on the right-hand side. Deep yellow is doing the same type of pattern. I always see this kind of double, this top here, it does like a double top, comes all the way down, goes all the way across. This is your first bottom area, your second bottom area, and then we come on up and we're doing the zigzagging on the right-hand side. We're doing this stuff over here, this SOS buildup. That's what we're doing. We're building up over here. And it's a very long pattern. I think the longer these take, the longer they build. I'm also seeing this pattern in the VanEck Rare Earth Strategic Metals ETF. You can kind of see I've got the double line here, and I drew that before I even grabbed the Wyckoff. We also have the bottom, the short ST in phase B, and then the spring, and this is the spring to move on up. We did a couple of moves here. We came up to do another build-up here. We came up, and we're doing another at resistance line build-up before I think we make a larger move higher. This could pull back to this the resistance lines in here. It's very possible, but this bottoming pattern looks very close to this Wyckoff event. And I think we'll see a large move to the upside, just like this coming down. Looking at Bitcoin, Bitcoin did this same type of maneuver. We came down, we did one bottom here, we came back down, here's the spring, and then we sprung and really shot up for Bitcoin. So this is another accumulation phase in the bottom there. And I'm just looking at patterns, guys. I don't really care what it is. Crew Energy, we're coming on down, and this is that kind of bottoming type pattern, this big bowl-shaped pattern. It's a little bit different of a pattern, but it's still similar. The spring is all the way at the bottom here. And I didn't zoom all the way in, but you can see this build-up right here where you come into the resistance area. That's what this resistance line is here. We got a couple of resistance lines. This one didn't really come up at the bottom here. So we came up, hit this first resistance line. We're coming up again, and we're probably hitting a little bit of resistance there for which could be a very good size move to the upside. I've got Bannerman Energy. Bannerman Energy is doing that same Wyckoff type movement down here, and we're kind of broken out, and we're doing a retest. It's kind of doing this breakout retest thing right now. And one, we got stuck below the line, and we popped higher, and then we're coming back for a retest. Then we got to look for a big move to the upside for, hopefully, Bannerman. Encore Energy is doing the same thing. We can look at the lines here, AR. There's your AR, and sometimes it goes up a little bit. This one didn't go up as much. You can see the buildup on the right-hand side. That's the buildup there. We did pull back a little bit to this other support line down here. And that's where we're at for Encore Energy Group. And then hopefully we can get a big move to the upside. But that's kind of the accumulation phase for Encore Energy. We've got Laramie Resources. This guy's got a descending wedge type pattern. It went sideways. We've broken to the upside here. We're kind of pulling back a little bit, but that's the same type of pattern with the one bottom, second, the spring there. We came on up, and then we're pulling on back. And that's kind of right in this section in here. And I mean, some of these, yeah, we're in this section here. And I think this is Hovnanian, however you pronounce it, long, really long resistance line. Last time we broke above it, we took a very wild ride, much, much higher. I'm looking for a similar move if it can break out of this long-term resistance line. We break that, I think it's going to be game on, party on. So that's the type of move that happened after breaking out of this long resistance area. And I think as long as the market conditions are good, I think we're going to get a big move out of some of these patterns. This is Forceless Metals, very similar to the other patterns here. We hit our head there, come down. We hit our head on it, We're just moving sideways at the moment with that resistance above us. This is Invesco Solar ETF TAN. And this was one, remember, we've got the Wyckoff distribution here where we come up and then we move back and forth. And what I put here for TAN is this line here. There's another line, if you can draw it on the top here, that we hit our head on. That's the first line. This is the second line. So think of the first line here and then the second line. And that's exactly what I think we're scribing out, is something very similar to that. And we're almost doing a retest back to this bottom line. Now, does this mean that we should buy it? I don't know yet. I mean, it might. TAN might still be a really good pickup. I'm still torn on it. And looking at some of the other renewables, this is Vestas Wind. I kind of threw a line in here. I took the top of this one. I probably should have just took it at the top of that and made it a little more flat. But we're coming back to do a retest on it. And looking at the kind of the way that these things move, we had a nice good break. We're coming on back. That's an A, B, C correction. And if we hit this line down here, we might find good support there, and that might be a good spot to pick some up. And I know people aren't, pro solar. I'm just looking at these charts going, man, if they're going to dump trillions of dollars into them, I don't know, we'll see. And here's Gamesa, another wind turbine manufacturer. This thing has a very similar chart to the Wyckoff. Now, these didn't go down as far, but you get this bottom here, you get another bottom, and then it broke to the upside. And are we doing these lines in here before a really big move comes? Because, I mean, this is TAN, the solar one. We came on down, we've got that one bottom, the second spring, we sprung back up, and are we going to have like a massive consolidation area here that we're doing, and then a monster move that's coming, where this thing launches way up to the upside? I don't necessarily know, but this chart looks really interesting. This is Altius Corporation. Now, I forgot to draw the line in here, but this guy is ready to break to the upside. This one looks really good, that it's been accumulating since 2011. You get kind of one there. You get this like pullback spring. It pops higher, and it's almost like a cup and handle pattern, which is another bottoming pattern. And sometimes they can get like a cup and then a handle pattern that breaks. This one's Canadian Solar. I just grabbed another solar one. There's the one, there's the two. It breaks up, and then we are failing to the downside here. I don't know if that's because of interest rates, and these are highly correlated to technology companies, or if they're correlated to energy companies. Difficult to say. I don't know if this is like a uranium stock on, like the uranium group, because uranium's been pulling back. And I know solar is a little bit different, but I mean, they are energy stocks to some degree. It's just their input costs are much more exposed to mineral costs than, say, some of the other ones. But something like this Altius Mineral Corporation looks really good, and it's a royalty company, so they're just going to be printing money, I think. I think this one might be a good one to look at. That one's ATUSF, I think. I think that's ATUSF. But I was looking at all these companies, guys. I just share everything with it. And they look really compelling. I mean, big long-term charts. I'm going to continue to watch some of the solar just to see what it does. If we run into energy problems, I mean, if they're going to dump trillions of dollars into it, I'm still on the fence. They got the patterns. They have all this stuff that looks good. They just don't have, it's almost like they're not a commodity company. And I don't know how it reacts. I don't have that long-term data on it. I mean, we still have data back to, the last commodity boom. And it looked like it traded kind of like a commodity did. So I'm going to continue to watch it. Maybe I'll just watch it. And if it looks good and looks like it's going to turn, maybe I can try trading it or something and put some money into it so I have some exposure to it. But, they look really good for a lot of the commodity companies. Uranium looks really good for a potential move at some point. So does like Intrepid Potash and some of these other ones like Hovnanian. Really interesting charts, big long-term view. Hopefully they play out the way that this pattern usually plays out. Fingers crossed. If you guys like the content, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.